Yo. Welcome to the Flicks Picks and the Nitpicks. I'm your humble host, Nove718. And let's just get into it real quick. And I want to do a little chop up about Spider-Man. Everyone's talking about Spider-Man. And basically, I want to know, what do you guys think about the Spider-Man fiasco? Spider-Man is no longer going back to Sony as of right now. Sony's already made their public statement. I'm going to do something a little bit on in depth. I'm just shooting from the hip right now on the latest in news. It's something that I didn't want to do too much talking about, but on a higher conversation, I really want to talk about the fans and how they're ingesting the Spider-Man information, because I'm looking at very credible movie pundits that's online YouTubers, and I'll be honest with you, if we look at the conversations that we're having with critics and audience response, I'm starting to find that YouTube critics and movie pundits are, I'm going to take my time, just as responsible for the negative responses and the negativity in the fandom that we purport to say that we have absolutely nothing to do with, and not only that, we're adverse to. Most movie pundits will complain, so SJW antics and rhetoric that is oozing within the comic book film industry that we love and support. And now I will be the first one to say that anti-SJW rhetoric has become the new quote-unquote SJW rhetoric that is moving. See how SJW rhetoric is moving on the surface. Anti-SJW rhetoric is moving just beneath the surface. At the same type of volume, at the same type of speed and emphasis and momentum. They're so anti-SJW that they're becoming almost, I don't want to say bigots of the industry, but it's easy to see you guys as see us. I have to put myself in it. And this is the problem that I also have with a lot of people in conversation, because people love to say, I don't want to wear labels because you don't want to take on all of the characteristics that label entails. But if, let's say, I am I don't know if I'm with Blue Team, but Blue Team comes with Blue Team negative issues, even though I may be against some of the issues that Blue Team may bring out. And maybe I don't even carry any of it. But if I am part of Blue Team, I have to assume everything, even the negative moniker of it. Because if I am part of the Blue Team and I support what the Blue Team does, then I have to also, if I'm against certain things within the Blue Team, that's something I'm going to have to deal with within the team, of course. That's why I come out here and I talk about it and I speak out against it, because I am just like all of you guys. But I do see the horizon beyond the trees, and I see what's at the end of this. And we are slowly becoming the bigots of the industry. We are also becoming very contradictory. Now, make no mistake, and everybody knows I'm a big Snyder fan, but I use Snyder as a great example because everyone's saying that with the advent of the Joker, everybody is excited about a Joker movie that no one's ever seen based on critic responses, right? Some guys are at least staying on code as saying that if it's nothing like the comic, then it shouldn't be a comic book movie. And there's a few people on the fringe that's saying that. And whether I agree or disagree, what I mostly agree with is consistency. Because if you're the type of person that says it's nothing like the movie, you're saying that Superman is nothing like Zack Snyder's design of Man of Steel is so so far against, which I don't agree with, but the film community, a lot of which are reporting that they felt like it was completely against the Superman that we know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then why are you guys so excited about a Joker movie that talks about Joker's supposed evolution, that from what I understand, it's on the surface that this is not drawing from any comic book specifically? Then how can you be so quick to accept a movie you have not seen? You shit on a Man of Steel film, which, if you ask me, that was the personality of Superman. It really was. He was just put in the paradigm of a real life situations. Instead of Pac can't having a heart attack like the original movie, that he couldn't fight against God, which was supposed to be a scene that he couldn't save his father from the inevitability of death, which was a deeper moment for him even in that movie. This time, everything the father was saying in terms of maybe you shouldn't be seen, maybe you should keep yourself low key, the humanity isn't ready for it. And he believed it so much, even to the point of him willing to die behind it. That was the arc for the father, to show that he was undoubtedly about what he spoke about, even if his life was on the line, which was a significant arc for him, which dovetails in even a higher significant arc for the son, because the son could have probably broke out a long time ago, but he kept quiet due to his family. Him being quiet due to his father and seeing his father die was a sacrifice that he made. It's almost, I mean, everybody hates the Jesus corollaries, but one of the things that people don't understand in the story of Jesus Christ is the fact that God would begotten his own son and was willing to let his son die at the hands of his other children, humanity, to prove a point, to show that as you kill each other and sacrifice each other's lives using the one gift God given us all, the gift of choice. That's what the tree was about. Tree wasn't about tempting humanity per se. It was about giving humanity the ultimate choice, which was the biggest gift beyond that, which choice entails, is freedom. The moment we take choice out of the equation, are you free when I only give you what I give you? But if I give you everything at your feet and say, now, I'm going to tell you this is the best design in which to live your life, doing the others that you would do to each other. These are the codes, actually, your 10 commandments, and you fall short of it. Then I give you my son. My son. Knowing that full well that you have every capability to kill him. But I give you my son to give you the new doctrine. You know what? Doing the others that you would like to be done, and you murder my son, and he dies over your sins, so that it will open up the eyes of humanity to be like, yo, we've killed God's child. This man didn't really do anything. Why would he tempt you all? And he didn't come with no weapon, no army, no gold, no nothing. He was the least intimate, physically imposing person you could actually find. And yet, his words were so powerful that you would destroy and kill that man. That's sacrifice. That was God's way of saying, I'm willing to put my own. And knowing that you guys will destroy and kill him, willing to sacrifice his body to prove the point that not only are you free, but he will absolve you of your sins, to open up your eyes to understand that you could choose an earthly heaven if you so decide to. Or you could choose an earthly hell. But everything that comes with it will be for your children and your children's children. These are the sins of the Father. The choices you make today will be the paradigm for your kids to make new choices tomorrow. And Man of Steel depicted that so perfectly by when he listened to his father to not save him. That was Superman's sacrifice to humanity. And then, when he felt he was ready to expose himself to the world, it would hang in the balance of the back of his mind that I lost my father because I wasn't ready. Now I'm ready. And I don't want that to happen to anybody. And that was the balance between his personal life and the life that he could give and the choices he could give to humanity. And he chose a personal life. He sacrificed, for the most part, a personal life for a very public life. Now, he has a personal life. We know this. But it will always get usurped by his public life as Superman, because as soon as he opened himself up to that, now he's given himself responsibilities to stand on. And we've seen him dragging a boat, going against this, while the new conversation is yes, we know he can, but the question is, should he? Because now he interferes with a larger picture. If he saves people in wars that we're fighting against, then he's almost working against us. Or he's stopping our wars. He's interfering with humanity's personal business. But if he doesn't, then the conversation would be, well, he did nothing. These were some very impactful, and to be honest, these are conversations that I wish we could have dealt with in a world with maybe Batman wasn't super exposed just yet to the world in the Justice League, but we could have dealt with some real world, real interesting and challenging stories with just a Superman on the world's stage as the hero, apart from Batman, Wonder Woman, and yada yada yada. And I think that would have been a beautiful and even deeper part 2 to Man of Steel. But they wanted to push a Justice League forward. Now, I say all of this to get back to the bigger point, because you guys know how I love my Man of Steel. And I could talk all day long about it, and maybe I'll do another one specifically on it. But to circle it back to what we're dealing with in the fan community, look at how we took that. Look at how we're taking the Joker. It was so much negativity towards Man of Steel and Justice League. We should have had an even higher sentiment against Joker, because Joker has absolutely nothing to do with. It's a brand new story, and it seems like a lot more movie pundits that were so against the artistic creativity of Zack Snyder. You guys are just so ready for this film. And I find it quite fascinating. The question is did we destroy the DCEU because of Man of Steel, the actual art, or we hated the artist so much that we tore down his movie, even though his movie was, I'm not going to say without flaws, but a masterpiece of the genre. I quote John Campea for saying, that's a fact. It is a masterpiece of the genre. And I'll be honest with you, it can stand 10 toes down on some of the best regular films. I think it's one of the best. To be honest, this is one of the best superhero films that can go against any film. I believe it is a masterpiece of the genre. And it's an excellent film that watching it will make you forget you're actually watching a superhero film. And this is a character study of Superman that we have never seen and we did not know we needed. Unfortunately, BVS tried to carry those themes over, but it was a little bit bloated for those type of stories by also incorporating a Batman theme, which I think Batman would have been, you could have carried those themes into a 2, which would have took on a lot of the story elements in BVS that would have left it less bloated, so that when we got to a BVS, we could have really just focused on ideals versus ideals. And the carry over from Superman 2, which would have probably never had a full resolve, but we would have resolved a lot of those, the public personification of it. We could have leveled a lot of that down in the climax to understand that Superman has a purpose, and then we could have took a point out of that we didn't look at in terms of like wars or should he intervene. That should have been the higher archetype going into BVS. Then we could have used Lex Luthor to ingest his themes of, is he an angel, or he could have just been a demon, and we could flip it upside down because demons come from the sky. That could have been, even though that was there, I think it was just too imploded because we needed a Man of Steel 2 to stretch that story to where it could have gone. And because it was a weighty story, that could have been its own movie. But since this is still a story of Kal-El and a superhero story with villains and stuff like that, we could have spread that out a little bit more by putting a Man of Steel 2 than going to BVS. But if you look at a lot of the interviews, that was initially the plan. But as Zack Snyder said, which he threw out the idea of Batman because he wanted Batman to show up at the very end of Man of Steel 2 like a batarang, and then it would have went into a BVS. He was like, you could just throw that out there and just take it off the table. And I think what it was he was still brainstorming, but he was brainstorming in front of the wrong execs, because as soon as they considered it, it was like that could be the next step. And then after that, we could go Justice League 2. And it was like you could have taken it off the table once you said it. And it's not like he couldn't have delivered it. It was just that it was just a little too premature. That said, now, I go back to the same idea of we, the fan community, destroying the genre in which we love by our inconsistent nature, by us practicing some sort of nepotism because we love our certain genre, our certain directors. Oh, he's going to direct the movie. Oh, then it's going to be perfect. Like, what? This person might get the movie. We don't like him, so he's going to destroy the movie, and we look at it with a cynical eye all the way through and through. Some of it is you have to expect it on a certain level, but the way we attack it online. And let's be for real. We look at, have you ever looked at the headlines? A lot of this shit is clickbait. I came across somebody's channel recently that said, I think it said someone, oh, now I remember, Jennifer Lopez slams the MCU. Then they read the quote. Basically, she said it seems like it's hard to greenlight a film in Hollywood if it's not an MCU movie, a Marvel movie, or superhero film. So it's becoming harder, and it's already hard to greenlight a film that it's even harder in the advent of all these. If it ain't Marvel, then it's even harder for us to greenlight a film. What was wrong for her saying that? She slams the MCU. No, she didn't. And this is me listening to the video. She didn't slam it. She didn't say F these movies, it's not interesting. There was other people, actors, that have said it. Just because other actors have said it, and all she said was, yo, it's hard to greenlight a good movie. So even with all these Marvel movies out, it's just a little bit harder if you're just trying to put character-driven films as opposed to superhero film. Not to say that superhero films can't be, but let's not act like we don't know what she's saying. Her words might have been I won't even say poorly chosen, but we know the implications of it. It's not really hard to understand what she's trying to say. If she wanted to slam the MCU, she could have used a lot of different type of rhetoric and words to show that she had an issue with the MCU. What she was saying was basically that her issue was that it's just hard to put a film out there that was an MCU, because that's all, or superhero, because that's what it seems like. That's the easiest way to greenlight a film, or because that takes up most of the shine. And I do you one better. No one talks about these. Let's be for real. all of us movie pundits exist because of the superhero genre. Now we could argue that, and people like John Campea, who is, let's be for real, he is the daddy of all of this shit. He's created the archetype in which everyone else has ran. This is the reason why AMC picked him up, because they were taking what he did and they expanded it a little bit further. Of course, he took on what Siskel and Ebert did too. There are people that predates him, like, let's be for real. But the modern movie pundit, that has been an archetype designed specifically by John Campea. That's why it's so fascinating to see a lot of people shit on him, and they'd be like, yo, man, but you driving in his car. You shitting on him and throwing shots at him in his car, the car that he designed. You know what I'm saying? But neither here nor there. And if you do your history, his shine blew up during the comic book movie boom, because that was where the geeks got into where the wizard, the idea of the wizard and speculation and the Wizard magazine. This is what we are, the big, nothing but wizard magazines online discussing all the possibilities of behind the scenes of what can happen with our movies. Comic books turning into movies, because this is speculation and all of this. This is what we used to do in the wizard magazines. And nerds would read it, and we would read it, be like, oh, these are fan casting ideas and yada, yada, yada. He brought that to on an internet platform. And this is what we're doing now. If it wasn't for the comic book movie industry, no one would have been digging this kind of deep into movies. And it spilled over into regular movies, of course, but the gamut was this whole plane has been boistered by geek culture, because this is the stuff that we geeked up about when it came to comics and movies, and what's going on behind the scenes, and who could be picked up, and all the possibilities of the directors, and what could speculate from these directors. And that kind of spills over to books being optioned, and fantasy books, and video games. And then it swelled to that kind of level. And now we're using the platforms that this genre has created to damn near cannibalize it. And not even on a critical plane. It's very SJW-esque. We create a rule of thumb, if you will, and we make everything that goes into it apply. So we'll have things about women and people of color and yada yada yada. And if you don't fall readily into that box, then you could find yourself in an adversarial conversation against the genre at hand. And some people are not even really in tune to the genre the way they say they are. They're just like fans of the movie more so they politicize it more than they need to. And now that's gotten such a political response from it. Now you have the guys that are against the SJW attitude becoming SJWesque in their rhetoric by anti-politicizing everything that doesn't even need that kind of rhetoric. So now they're looking for, we chose this character, and he happens, this actor to play this character, he happens to be black. Whereas no one really cared that much when Terry Fitzgerald and Spawn back in the 90s was made to be a white character, because we knew why, because they didn't want it to be an all black cast, because they want to alienate the white demographic. It wasn't that big of an issue. I don't remember back then. Now, when we do it, it's the biggest issues in the world, because white characters are getting changed to other characters when we've been doing it the other way for so many years, to the point of biblical and historical significance, that now it's an issue. And some people would say, those are our folk tales. Little pussy ass motherfuckers. I'm sorry, I had to say that shit, because those are our folk tales. I know what you do. You're trying to make it create a legitimate argument. And on the surface, you can say those are white folk tales if you want. But you've taken Black history and done that. So you could call it folk tales, you could call it comics. You've done worse. We've done worse with films. I mean, totally taking Black people out of historical context in biblical films. And we've been doing it for years. So let's not act like this is brand new. That said, I see it on both sides. I'm not really for gender and race swapping characters, me personally, because I'd rather see the characters, a three-dimensional version of the character, look like them. Am I against any type of race and gender swapping in terms of being artistically lubricant in what we decide to do to give you the full vision of the character? Because sometimes the character can precede its actual physical manifestation. I mean, we've seen characters exemplify their comic book counterparts, and all we did was stay true to the character. Even though the physical aesthetic doesn't seem the same, they've been true to the character all in all. So again, it still kind of goes back to, on some sort of level, how do we tell this story and how can we do it? Inclusivity isn't the highest of agenda. That's not my agenda. First, my agenda is the character. And if Mahershala Ali could be a better, kind of exemplifies the idea of my version of what's his name? Commissioner Gordon, then I'll go with it. And if you ask me, why'd you go with a black guy? He nailed the reading. And you'll see it once it goes on screen that Mahershala Ali is going to make you feel like there could have been, for this film, there could have been no other depiction of him. And that's what I like to see when we race and gender swap. I want to feel like, yeah, this is how that character would have looked and operated in your film, because they took on the character so well that I only see this version in your film. I'm not longing for the real character when this is how the character would look in your universe. We played with this before with multi-universes, where characters will look completely different, and it's fun to do it. It exercises the palette a little bit. And out of that, we can birth some excellent independent characters. I think Miles Morales is one character, derivative, obviously, an inclusatory character, because if you know the history of it, but I think he's transcended that. And he is starting to become his own singular character apart from who he was derived from. She-Hulk is a perfect example. Another gentleman online that cries out about normies all the time and complains about normies and all of that. You should know who that gentleman is. He's right. With She-Hulk, she has developed her own type of characteristic to the point where even though she's a derivative character, she's kind of so onto herself. You could even argue in a way she's closer to in a way she's kind of closer to Deadpool in a lot of aspects than she is the Hulk. So there's ways that we could actually make these characters create their own entire lane, even though they're driving in another person's car, if you will. But to circle back around it to the real idea of what I want to talk about, and I know I'm kind of being all over the place with it because I got a lot of ideas that I want to share with you guys, but I do want to single it back to us destroying our own genre. And I say all of those things to show different instances where we were not consistent in our rhetoric as a collective. Some are. That's why I respect those that are. Because that's what I want to see, consistency. Otherwise, it just seems like you're just agenda-driven, no different than the SJWs you purport to be totally against. And I'm not a big fan of those type of agenda-driven type of rhetoric, agenda-driven type of analysis. it seems like you just want to shit on Zack Snyder as opposed to really focus on the movie that he tried to tell. We're loving the wave of the Joker so much that we're damn near willing to give it a 10 out of 10 before. I already feel like the fans are gonna give it a 10 out of 10 before the movie even drops. Cause of Joaquin, he's so amazing. Let's just see what kind of movie that they're gonna give us. Oh, I hated the Joker in whatchamacallit, Suicide Squad. Well, Bailey was in the movie. He basically nothing. He was there to further Harley Quinn's story. So I don't feel like we really got to know this Joker. We just know what this Joker looked like to her. Was to her. We don't really have a good, fully developed idea of who the Joker is. But we'll tear that movie down. Look. We offer one movie. People want Patty Jenkins to usher the whole DCEU. One movie in how many years? And she had a lot of help. You can't look at Wonder Woman and tell me that you don't see the thumbprint of Zack Snyder all over that shit. Even just by the beats. And she's never done a film at that echelon before. She could tell great stories. You could tell who really was behind, helped her with the gradient to make it seamless with Man of Steel. So he had a lot to do with that. That's why she fired most of the people that was on underneath the other film. That's why when Grace talks about it, it's like no one's not going to say the obvious. She wants this to be her movie. Because I don't think she felt that. Man, all the praise she got from Wonder Woman, not to say that it wasn't deserved. I think that deep down inside, she knows that she got a lot more assistance to create a film like that, coming off of a Oscar movie such as, I think it was Monster, which she knows how to do character-driven film. Because if I'm not mistaken, even though I didn't see Monster or whatever, that one movie that she did do, it did curry the star of the film to get a Oscar. So it's not like she doesn't know how to make good films. That's what I'm not saying, or character-driven films. That's why she was a match made in heaven. That's why they'll get someone to do the action sequence, yada, yada, yada. You do the story. And I think that's what she did. I think she directed the story because Zack Snyder's not a person that likes to get in the way of people's stuff. But I think he looked at her like, yo, I think you could tell this story well. When it comes to the visuals and the archetype, I can help you with the beats. And all you have to do is tell the story in between. And I think he surrounded her with the right people for that movie to get the acclaim that it deserved. And I think that he didn't get enough props that he deserved for that film. I personally think that there's nothing to really corroborate other than just looking at the film, and you could just see a lot of Man of Steel beats, a lot of BVS beats. You know, how it beats all the way up to the very end of the film where you're fighting a CGI mess, if you will. And I use mess loosely. Zack Snyder's my guy, but he'll throw the rest of the budget. If there's money left over, we're going to put it all at the end. We're going to blow some shit up. And that's why I wish he could dial back on, because it's starting to look like an easy archetype that he could fall into, as opposed to, we don't have to CGI. He's a great director. You can depict it without a CG. I know he can. I just feel like he's old school. Like, yo, you give me the money, I'm going to give you everything at the end. Which I think he could just say, he don't have to blow out the budget, just shoot it in a very interesting way, use more practical thing. That's what I would love to see Zack Snyder do a little bit more of. Also to differentiate his styles, because I know you could do CGI stuff, but sometimes I don't think you need it as much as he might think. But that's just a personal critique, and I think he's a great director, and I love his films, and I really love BVS. I really like that movie. Is it as good as Man of Steel? No. Not as a story, no. I think he really told a well-crafted story in Man of Steel much better than he did with BVS. I think BVS, he had too many ideas going into it. I think he could have streamlined it a lot more to make a better film. But what the problem was people was judging the film based on what they wanted to see. We didn't see enough of this. We didn't see enough of that. I get that, but if you judge the film by its own, by what the film gave you, it's still a pretty good film. Certain things they didn't really need, like following the bullet and all of that. That was just something to give, like, Lois Lane something to do so she could trace it all the way back to Lex Luthor. They didn't really do enough to show how they was trying to frame Superman. So I felt like it wasn't as well crafted on that level, but it was still a good film and well done. But again, I still go back to us as the fan community. How, read the headlines of everything that's going on. I heard a gentleman himself, and I'm going to do something very extensive on it. He was like, you want to know why I keep putting out videos? Because the algorithms keep losing me, and I want to keep trending and being in your feed. So he just puts as much videos out as he can. So it wasn't a surprise when you start reading the headlines, his clicks. It's clickbaitish. You're saying one thing, but then when I read it, it's not as deep as you're saying it, but you just wanted to put a video out there. This young lady that does the same shit too. She's cute. She's funny. She is a hate watcher though. She hate watches movies. Like, mama, that's what you do. But 3, 4, 5 minutes of barely saying much of anything. It's just so you can keep your audience engaged. Believe me, I'm just a YouTuber. I understand the need and I want to keep, because you're trying to create this as a job. But now that your job, are you now compromised? If you have nothing really to say today, are you just going to get on the mic just to say something, just to put it out there as something inflammatory, just so you can get some eyes to the content? And then when we get there and we listening to what you're saying, it's like you didn't really have much to say. Now you're just stretching the conversation just so you can have something worth saying to validate the headline, which is you know it's clickbait. You just made an inflammatory line so people could come to see it, which we're supposed to. That's part of the game, because we're all fighting for an audience. You know, I make no qualms about it. But what I don't want to do is to create content for the sake of creating content. So I'm going to create something inflammatory and try to feel a little bit more offended about something specifically that I really don't feel as offended about. I just don't want us to get to that kind of place, because then we'll be no different than the critics that do what they do because of the politics behind it. Slowly but surely, the movie punditry is turning into exactly what we were supposed to be, the balance to the critics. Honest critique from an honest source. Now it's because the source is trying to create a business out of it, that we're practicing certain, I won't say nefarious, but ingenuine practices to ensure that our business thrives. So that if everyone is hating on the film and there's a hate wave, well, I'm going to make hate wave videos too. Even though I might not hate the movie as much as everyone else is, I'm going to come out here and curse and scream. You see these guys, they'll be like, yo, nigga, you ain't that angry. You're not that mad. But you want to seem like it because it's the wave. That is what I have a high distrust of. And it's a sad shame to say, it's that energy that will cannibalize this corner of YouTube punditry in which we all speculate and argue and discuss everything that is about movies and comic book culture that we love. And we are going to be some of the key components of its own destruction. But that's just what I gotta say. What do you guys gotta say? What do you think about what I'm saying? And this is a real conversational piece that I want to really submit to you guys. And let me know, dude, what do you guys think? Do you feel the same way? And also, hey, I'm going to do it right now. Do you like more discussional pieces from me? Let me know, man. Because there's a lot of things I love to talk about in the scope of the genre. And I'm going to still put it in here. But let me know, do you guys enjoy these type of videos? I also want to do more video essays. That's going to come. You know, I mean, the channel has been mostly about first impressions on trailers, but I do want to get into more speculatory stuff, and we got to do more full shows. That's coming. I'll let you guys know when we're gonna be back on code for a show, and we're gonna actually have a schedule. And every now and again, I actually am talking to someone right now where we can actually, every now and again, I actually have someone jumping online with us to discuss it as we build this brand out a little bit more, and we start to get more diverse thoughts and opinions onto this channel, because that's what I actually want, and I want more conversational pieces on here. But leave it down below. Let me know what you guys think. Do you feel like I'm onto something? Do you guys feel like we as a community, are we starting to become our own worst enemy? Are we going to start cannibalizing our own genre? Will we become one of the big bullets that will be the downfall of this momentum of comic book film? Because I think if we allow for our directors to do more creative stuff with these characters, then we could have a longer lifespan, as opposed to retelling the same old types of same old characters the same exact ways. Then we won't get variety, we won't get creativity, and we won't get to explore the things that the comic books have always had opportunities of exploring. The writers have been the directors. Every writer and artist that have done full runs of books have been their own kinds of people, telling the story, using the same character, but telling it their kind of way. And it's been canon, because these characters have thrived and lived past so many different periods of time that you're gonna get different types of depictions, and fans of the characters seeing certain things that they felt that was touched upon, but they want to elaborate even further upon on that. Zack Snyder wanted to elaborate more on the sci-fi elements of Superman, which I think he did to, I hate to use the word perfection, but damn, he got there. He really pulled out the sci-fi elements of Superman to a level and degree that I haven't seen. Definitely on screen, but I haven't been the biggest reader of Superman comics. I've read a few here and there in certain runs by people that I have liked, but I tell you this, I think he's been maybe now I won't be so bold to say in the comics, but he's the first person to take those type of ideas and put it on a bigger level. He's the first person to take Batman and really show how brutal he is and the anger that he carries within him in BVS. These are people that are clear fans of the source material, but there's certain things that they felt in the source material that maybe we should put that foot forward first. And I think it was smart. Make him more sci-fi to bring him into a real world. And then we could really deal with his personality and his characteristics as a superhero coming into his own. These are the type of things that directors look at. They'll take something that they love about the character that has not gotten enough shine, and they take that and move that to the front to differentiate themselves from other directors that have actually been able to tell the story. And I think that the moment you fight to have just a singular vision for all these characters, that they can't go different ways, then you kind of take off the idea of these characters having more and different stories to tell. Like Batman, this one wants to do, Matt Reeves wants to do more the detective. We haven't seen that before. We've seen elements of it, but he wants to make that his number one focus. This is how you can make these characters live on. His series will be more of a detective. The other one before it was more of a crime. The other trilogy was more of a crime drama. BVS Superman and Batman was a very angry Batman that has done all the detective work, and he is not at this point in his career where he just don't give a damn no more. He has been stretched to the edge of himself, that he no longer recognizes Bruce Wayne anymore. He is just the Bat, and he will be the fear. Put the fear in bad guys, and that's what this Batman was, the fear. He puts fear in the bad guys. That's what he's about. Because he don't care if you're in the way, you will find yourself in trouble if Batman is on your back. That's the guy he turned into. And we've seen indentations of what could take him to that level. The loss of Robin. These are the different type. Even if you go into what Joel Schumacher just took on what Tim Burton did, but gave us more of the Adam West Batman. If you go past that, this was the first visualization of, you know what, I want a gothic, dark gothic Batman, which was Tim Burton. Which you can still see his through line through all of them. See? And this is how we can have so many different variations of the same exact character. It tells some imaginative and wonderful, great stories, and impactful and deep stories. But we gotta allow for the directors to have their own hand at it. Not to say that we can't shit and have fun and critique, and these things are kind of fun. I'm not gonna lie, but some of it, like when you listen to it, it's like, all right, it's not that bad. Like, this movie could never have been that bad. I've seen shit movies. It's not a shit movie. And it's not without its value. But I think the attitude now is for clickbaits. We'll destroy films just for clickbaits. Because if everyone hates it, then I'll make my hate video of it, and we'll all over compound on it, and then we'll just look like a bunch of savages, because it's like no one's letting up. And it's not even as serious as we're making it out to be. But this is how we destroy franchises. This is how we create the thing that we hate the most within our genre. And that's that attitude, that unwavering attitude, that because I said that this is bad, or this is not this, or this is not inclusive, or this is not this, then so shall it be. We don't like it when they say stuff about us in news reports, but we have no problem shitting and tearing down other people. I mean, at some point, we're going to have to find a balance and do our due diligence as movie pundits online. And if we take this serious like a job, then I think there's certain responsibilities that should come with it. If for no other reason, just to ensure the preservation of the genre that in which employs us. I don't know what you guys think, man. Leave it below. We let this go long enough. Like, share, subscribe. See you next time. And as always, till I have a better outro, chill. And again, please let me know. Do you like these types of videos where we just get to talk casually about certain topics? And we're going to keep going. It's going to be a couple more videos I'm going to drop like this, where I want to just open up some real interesting